two, and then you have to separate them. Just make it separate from the beginning. That was the question. So we said yesterday, the idea is because Hashem wanted that a husband and wife should have the ability to be so close to each other. There shouldn't be machloket between a husband and wife. There should be harmony between husband and wife. And to ensure that it should be natural for husband and wife to be able to be so close, so Hashem made it that they came originally from each other. That's what we said yesterday. And I just want to tell who the source of that. I'll tell you who in a minute. Who are the ones? This I think is the Raj. This is I think it's the Rajba. Let's see. Okay, there's a Shilas and Shuvat HaRajba. There's a Rajba. You can look it up online. You'll find the Shiloh, the Shuvat HaRajba. It's Chelik Aleph. It's the first Chelik in the Shilas and Shuvos. Siman Samach. It says in Siman Samach. The Rajba. Siman Samach, Chelik Aleph. There's Chelik Aleph, there's Chelik Beis. We first look at Chelik Aleph, we put in Chelik Aleph, Rajba, Siman Samach. That's where you'll find this idea. And I think it might be we'll try to find that another time. Okay. We're on Samach Aleph Amar Aleph. We are about in the wide lines. We are a few lines into the wide lines. Right. Take that message, that idea that Hashem made a wife from a husband, to recognize that we are naturally given the ability to be so close. And the message is the job of a husband and wife is to be that close, is that to be like one. Like we say, ishto kigufo. We have the concept, even in halacha, that a wife is like the husband. But not only in halacha, the wife is like the husband, but in reality, they have the ability to feel each other, to be so close to each other, and to look out for each other so much. Because Hashem created one from the other, that gave them the ability that to be so much looking and yearning to help the wife, and the husband and the wife to help the husband, that it becomes natural that we have this ability that you could be so focused on your wife and for doing what's best for her, and your wife can be so focused on you. How is it that a wife can be so dedicated to a husband and a husband so dedicated to a wife? Because they're dedicated to themselves in a certain sense. Because they originally came from the same spot. The wife came from the husband. How do you like that, Mr. Haber? Mr. Haber likes it. Okay. Morning, Jaime.
Morning.
Okay. Morning. So we are on Samach Aleph Amar Aleph, 61A. And in the art scroll, most probably I'm speculating it's 61A4 or 61A3. I'll tell you what it is. 61A3. 61A3 on the right column. Okay, the last thing we said yesterday was it would be logical. The Gemara was asking, according to the opinion, in the third wide line, the Gemara on towards the bottom, the Gemara said, according to the opinion that the woman originally was made with man, Hashem made the front was a man. There was a man on one side of the same person, a man, and there was a form of a woman on the other side of the same person, and then Hashem separated the woman from the man. So according to that, the Gemara wanted to know who would be walking, who was following who, because there's the woman, there's the man in one body, so to speak. They were connected. Morning. So who was the driver? Who was walking around? So the Gemara said that it's logical. The Gemara said that it would be that the man was the one who was doing the driving, so to speak. The man was walking first. Why the man was walking? Because the idea is that a man is not supposed to walk back of a woman. A woman could walk in back of a man, but a man can't back. It's not supposed to walk in back of a woman. Now, what's the how much space are we talking about when we say a man can't walk in back of a woman? So some say within Dalet Amot. Some say if you're within 6 to 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet is the amount of space. You shouldn't be that close to, like, you know what? When you're driving a car, don't get too close to the car in front of you. So the same thing is when you're walking in the street, don't get too close to the woman in front of you. Say the normal distance we say a person's domain is considered Dalet Amot, 6 to 8 feet, and that's called a space. And the halacha by mezuzah. What's the size of a room that requires a mezuzah? What's the size of, let's say, a closet that we're supposed to put a mezuzah? If it has a space of Dalet Amot, it has that large space, then you got to put a mezuzah. If the area is less than Dalet Amot, if it's less than 6 to 8 feet, you don't need to put a mezuzah. Rabbi, do I need a mezuzah in this closet? What's the size of this closet? Less than Dalet Amot, it's too small. Same idea. If you're less than Dalet Amot, you're too close. It's too small in the distance. Others say even if it's more than Dalet Amot, as long as you're able to see, you can see the woman and you see the movements of the woman, then even if it's more than Dalet Amot, you shouldn't be straight in a straight line walking directly in back of the woman. And what's the issue? The concern is your mind. The rabbis are very concerned. The Torah is concerned about your mind, that your mind shouldn't be thinking about inappropriate thoughts. And if you're walking back of a woman, you might start having certain thoughts that you shouldn't have. So therefore, is that they said you should not do that. That's what the Gemara says. And then the Gemara says an interesting thing. Not only, let's look at the Gemara. We're now 4 lines into the wide lines, the Tanya. You have it, Mr. Haber? Okay, 4 lines into the wide lines on the regular Gemara, and on your Gemara on the art scroll is on the right side. The Tanya, we learned in a Braita. It says in the Braita, Lo yahalech adam achri isha b'derech. A person should not walk in back of a woman when you're traveling. Why? Because maybe, like we said, you're going to come to thoughts. Va'afilu ishto. Even if she's your wife, it's not appropriate. It's not a nice. Doesn't look nice. It could be that not everybody knows she's your wife. So the fact that she's your wife, you generally are not afraid that you're going to have inappropriate thoughts. She's your wife, but not everybody knows that she's your wife. It's not so nice that you should be walking in back of her. And nizdamnolo. But what happens if you're traveling and there's a married woman? See, Rashi says here we're talking about a married woman specifically. Rashi says ala gesher. If there's a married woman on a bridge, and you're traveling, going over a bridge, yisakena mustadim. You should go ahead and go on the side of her until you pass her. Don't now, but if she's your wife, they point out, and you're on a bridge and you're traveling, that situation, they're not going to ask of you to go ahead and you don't have enough room. They're not going to ask you to go ahead. You have to go in front of her, or you can still walk in back of her, and you're at this type of bridge. But if it's a married woman, they ask of you to go ahead of her. Kol over achure isha, meaning if you find yourself in back of a woman, so go to the side of the woman, or go in front of the woman. Just don't follow in back of her. Kol over achure isha. Now the Gemara makes a very strong statement. Anybody who walks in back of a woman, bin nahar, when you travel going in the water, in the river, and because they're going into the river, so the woman would pick up her clothing, and because she doesn't want the clothing to get so wet, and as a result of that, parts of her body become exposed. And if you go ahead and you walk in back of her in the river, so now it says, Ein lo chelek lo olam haba. It says you don't have a chelek in olam haba. You don't have a portion in the next world. What does that mean? Of course, he walked in back of a woman and the woman was exposed. He doesn't have a chelek portion in olam haba. You know, that means to say every Jew has a portion of Haba, but people have the ability to lose their portion of Haba. This guy lost it. So what's Tosfos explains? What does it mean? Look at the Tosfot. See the left side, the Tosfot, Kol over achar isha benai ela chelek ol haba. The left Tosfot, you have it, everything else. So Tosfos clarifies what the Gemara means. That's it, Pirish, imhu ragil bekach. If he does this on a regular basis, he's going, following a woman, going back of a woman in the river. So on a regular basis, he's exposed to this woman who's not dressed properly. So what's the concern? He's going to come to have relations with her. There's a great concern that if a person is following this married woman in the river, and you're walking in back of her, and she's not modest, and then you'll see her parts of her body that are supposed to be covered, and those parts of the body that are supposed to be covered have the ability to encourage desire much more than parts of the body that are normally uncovered. Obviously, the parts of the body that are generally covered means it means that these are more sensitive parts. If a person sees these parts, Moni Mars, and therefore, the concern the Gemara is saying is because he's going to come to Chas v'Shalom, have relations with her. She's a married woman, so therefore he's going to lose his portion in Olam Haba. Oh, wait. If he's accustomed to going back of her in the river, then if he's accustomed to seeing her, and then the more he gets used to seeing her, he gets incited more. He sees her once; it's not as much It's a problem, but it's not what the Gemara is talking about. The one time being exposed to it is not the Gemara is not saying he's going to come to having relations with her. But when you get accustomed and to her, to seeing her not dressed properly, then the Yetzer Hara keeps on working on the person, and then Chas v'Shalom, they'll give in. Therefore, we have all these safeguards. We know a lot of problems in offices. You hear stories about a secretary or this or that, or doctors, therapists, violating some of their patients, or they come to relationships or these type of things. The problem is because the way they set it up is there's too much privacy. It's too intimate between the doctor, the secretary, the office manager, whatever it is, and they're there alone a lot of times. Then nobody's there. And there becomes this. They don't practice yichud in the non-Jewish world. They don't practice the laws that we have. Keep the door open. People should be coming in and out, and therefore that creates issues, creates great concerns. So we have to be careful. Set things up for success. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Now the Gemara says a connecting idea towards this concern of looking at women. We're 5-6 lines into the wide lines of the Gemara. If a person goes ahead and he counts money, he's counting money, he's giving the woman, here's a nickel, a dime, a quarter, I have a lot of change. And you're going ahead and you're counting the money while giving it to her, and it's taking time. You're counting the money in front of her, you're giving her a certain amount of change. But why are you doing it? Why are you doing it in this way, and you're giving it to her hand one coin by one coin? You could have given it, that's how some explain, you could have given her the whole thing at one time, but you're taking your time while giving her the money, or giving her a quarter, a dime. Why are you doing it? If you're doing it because you want to look at her, right? You want to look at her because you want to look at this woman. So how do you, so what's the way you want to do it? So you go ahead and you try to delay time by taking a longer time and spending more time with her by taking it slow, right? So if that's today it's interesting. It's the opposite. A lot of times you go into a bank today, the new thing is in a bank, they want to have a conversation with you. You come into a bank, they want a conversation. They want to know about your personal life. They want to know how you go to a bank teller. You're coming in to make a deposit, make a withdrawal. They want to have a whole conversation. They don't call you a customer. You call the guest. Next guest, please. This is part of their department of customer service. They feel they have to create a relationship with the customer, and they want to have a conversation. That's part of the society today that happens today. If you ever go into a bank today, they want to have a conversation. But here, what's issue here, and that's also, it's a lack of modesty. In my humble opinion. What? Say that again? And now what? Because it seems that the man has more desires than a woman. Meaning a man, even though a woman also has to be careful, she has to control herself, but it would seem to me that a man's desires are greater than a woman. That his lust is stronger than a woman. And that's why I would say personally why we need all the mitzvahs to keep us in shape. The women they could be very strong with less mitzvot. They don't have to have meaning they don't have to learn like we have to learn. They're under control. We need more to learn. We need to have the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. That's going to keep us under control. Our Yitzhara is stronger. That's how I would say. They also have Yitzhara. Women also have Yitzhara. Let's not kid ourselves. They also have desires, but I think our desires are stronger. Now, and also the fact is we are also more, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but the man is more that type of personality, is more of that type of outgoing personality, and the one who goes more out there and more on the move, and therefore he makes the moves a lot more, and therefore there's more concern. The woman is not as active. Morning, Daniel. Good to see you. Baruch haba. Yeah. Good to see you, Daniel. Okay, we welcome Daniel Ohev Shalom back and better than ever. Okay, so the Gemara says,
Rabbi,
yes.
the real difference between man and a woman is the man is more attractive physically in order for him to want to go and to desire something. A woman, she have to be attracted emotionally. It's not about the physique for the woman. It's about the emotion, the attention she will get, what's she getting out, not physical,
I mean, there's obviously a certain amount of physical also, but maybe there's more on
the physical,
more on one point than the other.
No, completely no. The woman is not about the physical. The physical is she's not after the physical. It will end. Maybe it will come to the end because she wants the affection of the man. But the man is only literally 99.9, we can call it, for the physical, and the woman is 99.9 for the emotion and the mix, because they want to meet together.
I don't know if the numbers. I hear what you say. I don't know if the numbers are exactly the way you say it, but it's an interesting point. I hear what you're saying, but I think there's also a certain amount that the woman is definitely attracted to the physical of the man, a certain amount, but not as much. I hear what you're saying. Now look what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, "Kidei listakulba." If a person goes ahead and he counts money, he tries to delay tax, spend more time with a woman, and what's the purpose? Because he wants to look at her. Now, there's looking at a woman. The fact is, you see a woman. There's nothing wrong with a person. You see a woman. There's something called seeing a woman and looking at a woman.
Good morning.
Good morning. We don't say that you can't have any interaction with a woman. We don't say you can't. You're not allowed to see a woman. We don't say you can't see a woman. The problem is to be mistakel at a woman. The problem is to gaze at a woman. I'm looking at her. There's seeing and there's looking. You ever understand the difference? And that's what the Gemara is saying. He's looking at the woman. He's gazing at the woman. He's focusing in at the woman. That's the problem that we have. If you do that, focus in. Afilu yesh biyado Torah umasim tovim Moshe Rabbeinu. Now that's an amazing statement. You have so much Torah like Moshe Rabbeinu. What does that mean? You're learning day and night, and you're masim tovim. What you do day and night, you're doing only masim tovim. You're doing tzedakah, you're doing chesed, you're doing an amazing thing. The whole day and night, you're doing her. But if you are weak in this, you're going to pay for it. and he's gonna have in Gehenna. He's gonna have to spend some time in Gehenna. He's gonna have to go and get cleaned out from and be punished in Gehenna for doing the sin of focusing and looking at the woman. How do you like that, Gemara? And the Gemara brings even a pasuk. Yes, what do I say? He delayed and he gave her only a quarter at a time. He didn't give her all the money at one shot. Because why? Because he wants to look, that's his intention. If it took you longer because you couldn't, it took you long and it wasn't your fault, no problem. And you weren't interested in looking at her, no problem. The Gemara has no problem that you gave the coins to her and you didn't look at, and you weren't focusing in her. The Gemara doesn't say that's a problem. The Gemara says the problem is when you're doing it for the purpose of looking at her. What did you say? Very good. Good morning, Ariel. Good morning. So the Gemara says, "Lo shenema." There's a pasuk in Mishlei. Shlomo HaMelech says, "Yad liyad." Even if you are like Moshe Rabbeinu that received the Torah from like the hand, you got the Torah directly from Hashem. You are like Moshe Rabbeinu. Still, lo yinake ra. You will not be free from ra, from evil. What is the evil? Gehenna. Gehenna is called ra. There's nothing, Hell is ra. And that person, the Gemara says, will not be protected again. And it could be that sometimes people rationalize with themselves. They say, I do so much good. I have so much Torah, so much Masim Tovim. What am I going to worry about if I let my guard down regarding looking at this woman? And therefore the Gemara says, no, if you focus in on the woman. Now, what are we going to say in our generation today? Where people are challenged with things, with people constantly on the internet and the social media, where they're challenged with people send them pictures, they send them things or they see things. The challenge is they can't focus in on it. They can't focus in on things that are inappropriate and so on and so forth. And even if it's not an inappropriate, not a thing that's not, even if it's not something that's the woman's not dressed inappropriate, even if the woman is dressed properly, not focus in on it. You so don't focus in. That's what the Gemara teaches us. There was a terrible story that I once was involved with, that someone lent me his phone. They lent me his phone. Certain person lent me their phone. And while I was borrowing the phone, he got a very inappropriate picture on his phone. I'm the rabbi. And I said to him, whatever he tells me that the people like to send me these pictures. I said to him, first you have to make it clear to such a person you're not accepting such pictures. How is he comfortable to send you the picture? I mean, I said it nicely, obviously. How is he comfortable to send you such an inappropriate picture? If he's comfortable to send you that picture, if he would know that you don't accept such things, he wouldn't send you. I said it like that. How have I said it? I said good misbehavior or not? What? What did he say? I hope so. But that's what I told him in a nice way. Okay, so we gotta, people have to be careful and make sure they don't expose themselves to such things. Amar Rav Nachman. Now Rav Nachman says, Manoach was the father of Shimshon HaGibor. So now we're going to hear about Manoach. Now we're turning the page now on 61A4. Noach Am Haaretz. He was not knowledgeable. He was not knowledgeable in law. Sometimes you have a person that's not knowledgeable. He's not educated. And how do we know he was not knowledgeable? The Ksiv. Because what does it say about Manoach? It says, Vayelach Manoach Achrei Ishto. He walked in back of his wife. And it's not a nice thing to do, even though it's not the same as walking in back of someone else's wife, which is a much worse thing, because then you might have inappropriate thoughts of walking in back of someone else's wife. But it's not a proper etiquette for a person to walk in back of his wife. Manoach was the father of Shimshon HaGibor. He was the father of Shimshon HaGibor, and they merited to have the Malach come to them. So they were special people. They were special people to have a son like Shimshon that's going to save the Jewish people. but yet he was uneducated in Jewish law. Because if he would have known, because he for proper etiquette, he would have known that it's not. You don't go in public for sure in public and walking in back of your wife in public. That's not a modest thing to do. Now, Maskef Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Now, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak challenges this opinion that says he was an Amoritz because Elamata Gab Elkanah. Elkanah was the father of Shmuel. Shmuel Hanavi. Oh, very good. So Ariel asked a great question. How could the Gemara point out it's a fine person, father of Shimshon, and so what happened? You're not allowed to talk negative about a person. So really, because the pasuk states he went after his wife, so it's clear from the pasuk that he did something. They said, according to this opinion, we want to show you that even though the pasuk says he did it, it was because of lack of education. Sometimes people do things because they don't know. What do you want? They don't know. But there is a tainer against the person because why don't you know? Sometimes there is a thing you need to educate yourself. That's why if a person desecrates the Shabbat, B'shogeg. A guy cooked something on Shabbat. He didn't know I can't. Rabbi, I didn't know I can't cook on Shabbat. I didn't know. So he has to bring a korban chatat. He has to go to the Beit HaMikdash and bring a korban. He doesn't get. The court doesn't punish him. He has to bring. Why? Because you should have known. You should have educated yourself. And lack of knowledge, people say, don't tell me, Rabbi, I'd rather not know. What do you rather not know? You have to know. You don't know, you're held accountable for not knowing. So, but now the Gemara is explaining, you're going to find in the pasuk that he went after his wife. So maybe the Gemara is also saying it's not because he knew and he violated the Torah. Maybe Ariel even makes it, maybe it's even bringing him up. It's not because he wasn't interested in halakha, and that's why he walked after his wife. It was because he didn't know. That's why he did it. Just like a lot of people, they didn't know what Shabbat is all about. They used to violate the Shabbat. Now that you explain to them and you send them to yeshiva, and they understand what Shabbat is all about, now they keep Shabbat. Or going to the mikveh. Right? There was a time period, there was a big problem, and not everyone understood the importance of mikveh. They weren't educated, and then not everyone went. And Baruch Hashem, Mr. Haber will tell you that today it's a different world. Because they've been educated, they know, they go down, now it's a different story. 100%. So the Gemara says, it says Elkanah, the father of Shmuel, and he was a very learned man. He was a Talmid Chacham. So you can't say and it says he went after his wife. So what's going on? Elkanah, the father of Shmuel, not only Elkanah, Elisha, the Navi says he followed the woman. So how do you explain over there? So the answer is, obviously, they didn't walk in back of the woman. It means they followed their advice, what the woman said. That's what it means. So sometimes when you say you went after her, sometimes it can mean literally I walked after her. And sometimes it can mean I went after what she advised. So the same way over there, by Elkanah and Elisha, it means they followed the advice of the woman. So too by Manoach, when it says he went after his wife, it doesn't mean he literally walked after his wife. Rather, he followed her advice. That's what. Therefore, don't say that Manoach was an Amoritz. He's taking issue. Maybe Manoach was not an Amoritz. Manoach maybe was educated. And when it says he went after his wife, it means not walking in front back of his wife, rather just following her recommendation, her advice. That's what the Gemara says. It says he went after his wife. And Gabi Elisha diksiv, he went after her. By the Isha Shenamit, Hachinami Achreha Mamash. Does it mean they actually walked right after them? Because they were prophets. Elkanah was a prophet. Elisha was a prophet. They would not violate the halakha. They know the law. Ella achri dvareha, after her words, what she said, after her advice. Hachinami achri dvareha v'achesasa. Therefore, you could say, don't say Manoach was an Amoritz. Don't say he was uneducated in Jewish law. Rather, because we don't have any, we can interpret the pasuk that when he followed his wife, doesn't mean he walked after his wife. He followed her advice. Okay. Amar Rav Ashi. Now Rav Ashi says,
According to the opinion that Rav Nachman understands that Manoach was uneducated. How uneducated was he? He was uneducated in a pasuk that every child goes to yeshiva knows the pasuk. What's the pasuk? He did not even know the simple meaning of the pasuk that's taught in the yeshiva. Shenema, what does it say? When Rivka went with Eliezer to be the wife, Rivka, going to be the wife of Yitzchak, what does it say? Vatakam Rivka. Rivka got up, and some explain that already Eliezer gave her the presents from Yitzchak, so maybe she was already betrothed to Yitzchak already. As a result of, you could have a shliach, you could have an agent act on your behalf regarding marriage, so maybe she's already considered a married woman, and yet the pasuk says, Vatakam Rivka, and when she's traveling back with Eliezer, who's going first and who's going second? Is she in front of Eliezer or is she in back of Eliezer? Is Eliezer traveling back of the woman or is Eliezer traveling in front of the woman? So the pasuk goes out of its way to tell us that he was in front and she was in back, to teach us this lesson of modesty. Man the kamar of Nachman of Aretz, now Shenema Vatakam Rivka Benarateha. Rivka got up and her maidens, the ladies that accompanied her, she had her servants, so to speak. Vatikavna lagmalim, and they rode on the camels. Vatilachna achriish, and they went after the man. Why do you have to tell me that they followed who was in the back and who was in the front? Why does the pasuk? Because the pasuk wants to teach us the modesty that Eliezer was in the front and Rivka was in the back. Achrei ish, v'lo lifnei ish. No, so the Gemara is saying if Manoach, right, according to the first opinion that Manoach did not know the halacha, what was the level of not knowing? Sometimes a person says, I didn't know a halacha. I didn't know it says it in the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, it's one level of not knowing. But then there's a level of not knowing. It's a pasuk in the Torah. You could see this lesson from the Torah, the Chumash. He didn't even know the pasuk. That's what the Gemara is saying. According to the opinion that says he was uneducated, how uneducated was he? He didn't know pasuk in Chumash. And you know what that it says to us? How we need to know the pasukim in the Chumash. Every person, every adult. It's expected that every child knows the pasuk, but not only knows the pasuk. See another thing from the Gemara. You know the pasuk to understand, to know the lesson from the pasuk. So when they're learning, how do you like that? When they're learning in yeshiva, the little kids going, the 7-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 10-year-olds learning yeshiva, it's expected that they should understand by reading this pasuk, that the pasuk is teaching you this lesson. And that's what's expected of the kids. Not that you just read psukim. You have to take from the psukim lessons to life. How do you act in life? That's what do you say to that? It's amazing. I like the word amazing. That's our good friend Dan Elhayan likes the word amazing. When he enjoys the Dvar Torah, it's amazing. Right? Jaime, you like that? It's amazing. Yes, we like that word amazing. That's what it is. Yes.
And yet he didn't know the concept.
Right. But right. So you like the other man. So Daniel is saying, imagine he's being visited by Malachim and he's yet uneducated. But it could be, Daniel, it could be he was uneducated, maybe whatever his situation in life was, that he was uneducated. Maybe it wasn't held, maybe therefore and it could be it was a merit, really, he only got them, really the Malach came to his wife. Eventually it came to him because he wanted, but so really it could be he only saw the Malach only because of the merit of his wife. That could be. So the Elkanah, the father of Shmuel, was a great prophet, but Manoach, the father of Shimshon, it's a question in the Gemara, was he someone who was very uneducated? And according to this, Shimshon's father, and according to this, we also can learn an amazing lesson. You could have someone, according to one opinion of the Gemara, that Manoach, the father of Shimshon, who Shimshon goes down as one of the great shoftim, one of the great judges of the Jewish world and what he impacted this, what he helped the Jewish world, you could have someone that could be born from a father that's an Ava Oretz, that he doesn't know, he doesn't even know a pasuk in Chumash, and look what his son could be. So, Mr. Haber, that's it. You see, every person, every child, you see from this Gemara, every Jewish child, he could come from a home that they don't know, the father doesn't know Chumash. There's no pasuk in Chumash, but he could become a great leader in Israel. That's a nice speech for a school, for a school to say that, you know what, for yeshiva, you can have a father, to tell the parents, we're going looking for the stars. We don't say because of whatever level of education you had as parents, therefore your children don't have the abilities. And Baal Tshuva yeshivot and all those yeshivot have, that's why you see that the kids can become great people, even if they come from homes that they were not educated properly. Now the Gemara continues. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Now Rabbi Yochanan continues in our discussion about how serious it is not to walk in back of a woman. He says, Acharei Ari, better to walk in back of a lion than to walk in back of a woman. How do you like that? Now, what's going on? What does that mean? Better to walk in back of a lion? So one of the commentators say an amazing point. The Rivan says, because if a person gets killed by a lion, he loses this world. But if a person gets killed by the woman, so to speak, if he falls for the woman and is married woman, he falls to this woman, has relation with her, then he loses the next world. Daniel, what do you say to that? Unbelievable. So that's better walking back of a lion. Take that danger. Now, halachically, I can't say that that's the law, but I think we could get a feel and appreciation of the seriousness of the matter. We don't have a letter of the Rambam on this stating that that's the actual law. It sounds like Rabbi Yochanan maybe actually held that way, but it doesn't say that in practical. No, I don't see a practical law. It says that. So if you see a loose lion, what? What does it say in the Torah? Yeah, right. But the question here is it the law if you're faced with a lion? There's a loose lion in front of you, and then there's a lion in front of you. Well, what's better, to walk in back of a lion? I have a choice. There's a woman. I can walk. There's a woman here, and there's a lion over here. So where should I go? Should I go back of the woman or back of the lion? So according to Rabbi Yochanan, better walk in back of the lion. Take that chance. To take the chance. Now, what does that mean? It's just definitely. I think the point of we could take out from it the seriousness of the matter. Right. Acharei Isha, but then the Gemara says, but the Gemara says, better walk in back of a woman than to walk in back of Avodah Zarah. And v'lo acharei avodas kachava mazalot, because they're very concerned. Let's say there's an Avodah Zarah right in front of you, and you might come to connect with the Avodah Zarah. So connecting with the Avodah Zarah is worse than connecting with than the concern of connecting with. And I would say it's because Avodah Zarah it's a total. If you connect with Avodah Zarah, that means you're giving up religion, so to speak. A person, and maybe that's why it's a greater danger than the woman. Okay, have a great day, everybody. Great Shabbat. We'll see everybody back next week, Bez Hashem. All the best. Thank you all for joining. Akiva, thank you for joining as well. Yosef, Jaime, have a great Shabbat, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. Have a Shabbat Shalom.
Okay,
Rabbi, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I know on Shabbos you can't brush your teeth, but can you use like a mouthwash?
Yes, you can use mouthwash. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Have a great day, everybody.
All right, Rabbi. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. You too.